Good evening. This is a meeting of the Athens Board of Zoning Appeals. The time is 7 p.m. and the date is October 8, 2013. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order. The board consists of 5 members and 2 alternates, the alternates taking full part in the discussions and becoming voting members in the absence of a member, or when a member abstains for conflict of interest. Present tonight are Greg Lavelle, John Gulsey, Joan Kronowski, Kay Towsley, and I think we're expecting Lisa Carson to arrive any minute. I'm Betty Hollow, the acting chair. Also present is Secretary Paul Eschenbacher. There's Ms. Carson. Good. The board operates according to the following procedure. The chair will name and describe the case. The zoning administrator, or Mr. Eschenbacher, will state the basis of the objection and any applicable facts or conditions pertaining to the case. The appellant or representative will give reason why the appeal should be viewed favorably. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the request will be heard. Anyone wishing to speak in general comment will be heard, and anyone wishing to speak in opposition will be heard. If necessary, the appellant or representative will offer concluding summary or rebuttal remarks. Testimony from the floor will be closed. The board will deliberate and render a decision. According to Athens City Code Section 230703B, the board has power to grant variances from the strict application of the code, provided the variance will not be contrary to the public interest, the spirit of the code is observed, public safety and welfare are secured, and substantial justice is done. According to City Code Section 230910C, variances from the code shall not be granted unless the board finds, based on direct, specific findings of fact, that each of the following conditions has been supported. Number 1 is practical difficulty and undue hardship. Because of exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions pertaining to a specific piece of property, a literal enforcement of the regulations would result in a practical difficulty or undue hardship that is unnecessary to the achievement of public purposes. Number 2 is exceptional circumstances. They are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applying to the property in question or to the intended use of the property that do not apply generally to other properties or classes or uses in the same zone. 3, preservation of equal property rights. Literal interpretation of the regulations would deprive the appellant of rights commonly enjoyed by others in the same zone and the same vicinity, while a granting of the requested variance will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that's denied to other properties in the same zone and the same vicinity. 4, minimum variance. The variance granted is the minimum variance required to make possible the reasonable use of the property. 5, absence of detriment. The authorizing of such variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property and will not materially impair the purposes of the zoning code or the public interest. And the last one is not of a general nature. The condition or situation of the specific piece of property or the intended use of said property for which the variance is sought is not of so general or recurrent a nature as to make reasonably practicable the formulation of a general regulation for such condition or situation. Not sure whether this applies tonight or not, but we'll go ahead. Any person, resident, or officer, department, or appointed body of the City of Athens, aggrieved by a decision of the board, may petition the Athens County Court of Common Pleas concerning the illegality of the decision. Such petition must be filed within 30 days after the mailing of the decision to the appellant. Tonight, we only have one case, and I believe it was continued from the last meeting. The case is 1310V. The property is at 10676 Door Lane in an R1 district. The board is required to take testimony under oath, so anyone wishing to speak tonight concerning any item on the agenda, please stand. Thank you. Do you swear or affirm that any testimony you give to the board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, yes.
Thank you. Okay. Typically, we ask Mr. Eschenbacher to fill us in on some of the basic concerns about the case.
In 2007, the city decided, or it was suggested, that the city annex property along Columbus Road. Both the property at 10676 Door Lane and the properties surrounding it. From memoranda from 2007, as per the Planning Commission, specifically a memorandum from Steve Pearson to members of the Planning Commission. Part of it says they had two properties they were thinking of annexing, the Columbus Road one and the Holzer Clinic property out on East State Street. And there's one paragraph here that references that in the Funk case, the property abuts both R1 and B3. His proposed use is an R1 use. He tells me there is no plan for any other use of the property, therefore R1 seems logical and appropriate. And then also from the Planning Commission minutes of September 20th, 2007, there is a section here that in the second paragraph, Mr. Abel, who was then the chairman of the, or part of the Planning Commission, said that the other property zoning designation for annexation for the Funk property, and it says on East State Street, which is an error, they meant Columbus Road, is another question. He's requesting that the zoning designation be requested and be accepted. Council is limited to 60 days to accept or reject. Someone made the suggestion to accept the house lot as R1 and designate the other area as open space. Such a motion was made, and then ordinance number 0-118-07 designated that property at 10676 Door Lane as R1. So that's what it's been ever since. And then fast forward to this past spring in 2013, and our office received a complaint from a tenant at 10676 about a problem there, which is how we found out about the rental situation there. We asked Mr. Funk to fill out a permit application, and he did so, which is what you have in your papers there, that was rejected. And that brings us to this point. So if you have any questions.
Let me just read this first. I probably should have read this earlier. This case has to do with a variance. The applicant is requesting a variance from ACC 230401A1 to allow 3 rental units and 2 principal structures on a lot in an R1 zone. As Mr. Eschenbacher has already said, this was a request or an agreement with Mr. Funk to annex the property into the city and as an R1. I'll complete this. In an R1 zone where 1 rental unit and 1 principal structure are the maximum allowed. So that's the request for tonight.
Yeah, and just to make clear, the 2 principal structures are the house, which is a pretty big house, and it has been subdivided right now into the main house being 1 unit and the basement being a separate unit. And then the 3rd unit is they have a 3-bay garage on the property, and they built apartments up above it. So since it's detached from the house and it has living quarters in it, it's considered a principal structure as well.
Okay. So I didn't understand that there were 2 units in the house.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's functioning as a duplex.
Yes.
Is that right? Could each unit have, what, legally 1 and 2?
Yes, and the last time I was there, that's the situation that it has, is that there was a couple living in the main part of the house and 1 woman living in the basement. Also, they are not separated, the 2 units, by walls. It's a regular house. There's just a basement door at the top of the stairs, and that's what separates the 2 units.
Okay. And then the garage with 2 bedrooms had, or has had, how many people?
When I was there was 1.
Okay.
I didn't measure the bedroom to see if it was big enough to hold 2, but right now, as we're here for, we consider that unit above the garage to be an illegal unit.
Okay, but are you saying that it is a single unit or that there are two separate living spaces in the garage?
There are two separate spaces up above the garage. It's a big 3-bay garage. If you haven't been up there, it's a big 3-bay garage, and it's built up above it.
Right.
Right now, there's an apartment and one space they say is used as office space for his whatever capstone or whatever he was using it for. But when I was there, there was just one of the units being used as living quarters.
Okay. Again, clarify unit. It has its own cooking facilities?
Yeah,
It
it's
has a
separate. It's a separate
bathroom?
apartment.
Okay, so they're basically two apartments in the garage? Is that right?
Yeah, two spaces there, one of which is being used, the other one could be converted into an apartment.
Okay. So we're really talking about 4 units?
Yeah, but I can only go by what uses are there. I mean,
Okay.
and that's what they've requested is 3.
3
If it were
units.
to be approved, the variance, and we would go back and the second garage space was used, then they would be in violation because they can only use the main house, the basement, and one of those spaces above the garage, if the variance is approved.
Okay, all right, I think I've got that. The rest of you have questions?
I just have 2 quick questions, I think. If someone was actually occupying the house as an owner-occupied house, and they had that garage with the living space above it, is that in and of itself against the code?
Yeah, if you create that.
Right, you
But
could.
what we have around town is a bunch of grandfathered
Right, that's what I
cases.
thought.
Because, as anyone who's lived, I'm sure Ms. Holland, she did research in the early 60s, OU told everybody in town they were going to double their size. And they encouraged people that if you have space above your garage, if you have an extra room in your house, we need rental units for the students. So that's why you see so many of them now. But to create a new one in an R1 zone, no, you can't have
That's
2
what I
separate
thought.
buildings.
So that's like still even another situation, right? Yeah.
Well, if it was brought in as an R1, and we have no written proof that it was a rental unit until we got this complaint past spring. So if they are going to claim that it's been rented as 3 units since 2007, since it was annexed, they've produced no proof to us about that.
Well,
So
and even if they produced proof now, it's been
they
illegal
don't have,
all
they've never
along
had a legal
because they've
rental
never had a-
permit application until this
Okay.
passed, or the application.
Other questions?
Yeah, I have a second question. On this, the ordinance paper that we had from, Record of Ordinance from 2007 from City Council, is the map accurate where the zones are? So,
Yeah,
wait,
let me make doubly sure. Yeah, that's how
Today.
they've arranged it for the Funk lot in question there. That little R1 zone there, that's where the house is, and it is completely almost completely surrounded by the open space zone. So, yeah, that's,
I guess I'm
Exactly.
kind of referring to, Paul, the R1 that abuts the open space to the, maybe that's east?
right up against the bypass there.
Right.
Right.
That, I'm not sure. I think that was different. I don't think that was part of this. I think that was there before.
Right, I know, but what I'm asking is it still an R1?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
I have
yeah.
friends who live there.
Okay, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Right, and then the R1 site below it or south of it is pretty much all R1 on one side and B3 on the opposite side.
Yeah.
Correct.
As far as I know, that map that goes with the ordinance is still
Okay.
accurate to this day.
Okay.
So it does not actually, well, it does, all along the east side abuts an R3 zone, I mean a B3
B3.
zone. Okay,
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
commercial corridor.
okay. Other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. You mentioned the house is divided into 2 units, the upstairs and the basement, and you made a point of saying that the only entrance into the basement is,
Well, no,
no.
the basement has a separate entrance. What I was saying is, if this gets turned down,
Okay,
there's no problem turning a house back into a single unit, because the only thing that separates the two units inside
Oh, okay.
is a regular basement door at the top of the steps.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else before we get to the appellant? Okay. Would you like to come to the podium and introduce yourself to us and give us an address?
I'm sorry, what?
Just tell us your name and address.
My name is Bob Preby. My home address?
Sure.
6495
record.
Angel Ridge Road.
Okay.
So I've been involved with this. I actually was the one who was in front of City Council when we did the annexation situation.
But are you the owner of the
No,
house? at
my name
all?
is Bob Preby. I've been a property manager with Mr. Funk since 2004.
Okay.
With Capstone
Thank
Property
you.
Management. The curious thing about this, and again, I apologize, it was very confusing at that time, because when I first approached Mr. Pearson and Mr. Hazelet about services, Mr. Pearson told us that we didn't need any permits but an opening permit to build a home up there. So I said, okay. And then after we had gotten
Wait,
the
just a
building,
minute. You didn't need a permit to build a home?
just an opening permit, because at the time that property was not City of Athens property.
Okay.
So we did that, and then after we had gotten the design, we had built the home essentially, or we're building the home. I went to get the city services, and they said we don't give those to you. And Mr. Pearson said, well, that's weird because the car wash, Oak Ridge Apartments, all of those folks get city water and sewer, and they're not part of City of Athens, but yet, I guess you have to be. And so we were kind of confused by that. And then Ray said, well, let's see what we can do and work out. And there was emails back and forth between me and Ray and Nick Joseph and Scott Lambert and everybody about whether or not we can get city water and sewer up there for this home without annexing. And then it was determined finally that we couldn't. We had to annex into the City of Athens at that point. That was a period, quite a length of time, between the point at which the house was ongoing construction and city services. I suppose in hindsight, we should have, kind of nailed that down first and foremost. But we're involved a lot with outside of the City of Athens, and we're, I guess, not accustomed to getting permits and such like that because you just don't need those things, to build properties,
Okay.
except for like a septic system or something. So that being said, there is the confusion now of why we didn't even really think we needed a rental permit, because we were, I guess, confused as to whether we really truly were annexed into the city or not. Clearly, we are in the City of Athens, and there's no
Okay.
question about it.
But there must have been some point before this spring when you knew that you were in the City of Athens, when you were in fact annexed into the City of Athens.
I don't really recall when that occurred. I was
Well-
here at the City Council, and I don't remember someone saying,
Now it's,
it's official, you're in the City of Athens.
well, we have lots
So,
of memos in our
I
packet,
apologize.
so-
I don't remember. I'm relatively new at that time, and I apologize. I didn't really know what was going on, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I don't recall there being a conversation with Mr. Funk at all about what designation the open space would be. Actually, that's a point of contention with Mr. Funk, because why you would zone that open space rather than R1 or B3. We're kind of curious about that. The nice acreage there, actually, the valuation on it has dropped now that it has a designation of open space as opposed to a commercial value. This was actually a property he was hoping to gift the City of Athens at some point in the future. And now the gift is worth very little compared to what it could.
Open space is always welcome.
Well, I understand, but you understand the tax deductibility
Yes,
of a
I
gift
do.
of land. But nonetheless, that's another issue entirely, and not for right now.
Okay.
I guess when I look at why a property, what impact it would have, locally or around
Right.
the area, there's no neighbors, first of all.
Yeah.
It's just a big open wide 29 acres. The nearest neighbor would be the 36-unit apartment complex, Oak Ridge Apartments, that is not in the city but has, services, apparently, because LEAX wouldn't provide us water. We could have gotten a septic system, that would be fine, but LEAX wouldn't provide water there, so we were stuck. We couldn't annex, we could not annex.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were stuck at that point. Not that it's bad to be part of the City of Athens. It's a perfectly wonderful thing.
Right.
And also, it's a nice area up there. We built a beautiful blacktop driveway that goes all the way to the top. Very nice home, very nice setting. We actually don't have the couple that he's referring to anymore. They have since gone on. We have an attorney that lives in the top part of the house. We have one person that lives in the bottom, and person that lives in the C. So there's literally, that very few people that live up in that little tiny community. That storage area that you're referring to as a separate unit, that's the storage area. That's where files are stored. There's nobody living there. There's nobody that ever will live in that unit. So there's no need to even discuss that as something that we're interested in.
Well, the reason I bring up things like that is because when we talk about properties, we talk about them as properties rather apart from the people who own them.
Sure.
Because the same people may not always own them, and therefore, even though you use it as a storage space, the next person who comes along might choose it to be an apartment again,
Okay.
if that were legal, which at the moment it isn't. And I also do have in my packet here an ordinance designating the zones for the annexation area on Door Lane. Whereas on September 20th, 2007, the Planning Commission recommended the zones for annexation, and this property is listed. So I'm sure that
I don't
Mr. Funk must have gotten one of these, but it's a long time ago, and it may have gone down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So,
It was a very confusing time
yeah,
for me.
sure.
Not really sure what was going on at that point with
Right.
the proceedings. I was just more focused on building a home
Sure.
and getting it prepared. The fact of the matter is, and I don't know if you read the narrative there in the appeal, but this is the case. The case is that this home is a home for Mr. Funk, okay, to move to in his retirement. He currently wishes that he could be here in Athens, but unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, he works somewhere else, out of state. His mother lives at the house at 10 Door Lane, right down the hill. Her name's Pat Funk, and that's the oldest, I think, one of the oldest homes in Athens County, actually, and they've renovated it because they're interested in historic preservation. It's a beautiful acreage there, a nice community up there, and these tenants are just keeping a place for us, keeping a place for him to move to in the future. It's not meant to be a long-term rental. It's not meant to be we're not going to build more apartment communities up there or anything. It's just purely a house, a garage, and then one thing that we do as a company, wherein instead of just putting a roof on a garage, you build an apartment up there. It's a little more extra money, but you get an apartment, and it's something you can use for guests, you can use for family, you can use for a rentable unit. It's just one of those things that we like to do. And actually, that's interesting. I didn't know about the OU in the 60s or whenever it was, it just makes good sense to do it that way. So, I guess that's my feel.
Okay. And I do sort of understand the lack of a permit, given the confusion about the annexation.
Yeah.
But we're talking about 6 years that this property has been in the city, and I know that Mr. Funk has been in the real estate business for at least 25 years, so he would have known that he needed a permit.
I don't see how that has any bearing on anything.
Well, perhaps not.
Just because of somebody's livelihood doesn't mean that they would have known this or that.
Well, of course he knew, but okay. Now you're coming for a variance and...
Okay, I'm not. I don't know that.
Okay.
I mean, I work with David Funk every day.
Okay.
I don't know that he knew, and he was somehow keeping that from me.
Oh, I don't
Okay,
think
and
he
I'm
would
certainly
mean
not
to
one
make
to
it
lie
a
about
secret.
things.
No, I wouldn't think he would
Yeah.
deliberately make it a secret. So, anything else you want to tell us or questions you need to ask?
He doesn't own other rental properties within the city then?
We have 3 rental properties in the city, 4 rental properties in the city of Athens.
But he knew that they required permits.
Well, they've had permits since he purchased them back in the 80s or what have you.
Okay.
I mean, you understand the timeline of things. You know, we were building a home. You know, I get word from the code officer, or I don't know what Steve Pearson.
One of those agents.
Yeah. Anyhow, and I have emails from Ray Hazlett about, we'll work out getting the services to you, and then all of a sudden, I don't know if City Council made a change at that time that, well, I guess that's what Paul's referring to is we're no longer doing that, or we're no longer allowing services without annexation, or I'm sorry, I don't follow the local politics at that time, but that was the confusion, at that point.
Questions?
How
I
long
guess-
have you known it was an R1?
Since it was annexed?
I have, since this variance
For
hearing.
6 years?
No, since this variance hearing, I suppose, to be honest with you.
Only since the variance hearing?
Yeah, I don't
Request.
really generally look up the zoning of the properties. They just assume that they are the way they are. I guess it's something that we don't build houses very often. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, the house was annexed in late 2007, and you know from your packet that there was a lot of correspondence with Mr.
Yes.
Funk as to whether to do it or not to do it, whether it required a public hearing or not, and apparently he agreed to the...
Right, sound like everyone agreed for R1.
Okay, sure. Everybody agreed to that. Questions? More comments?
I don't have any more to say, really. I mean,
Okay.
Certainly whatever you decide, we comply with. I mean, we're not in the business of being in non-compliance with the local government. So, I don't see what harm it's going to do, really. And we take good care of the property out there. It's a beautiful property, something that Mr. Funk was hoping to gift at some point to the city of Athens. And I guess I just don't see the harm in offering a variance in that regard.
Well, then I have a question. So what makes his situation different from other people who might wish to have 3 units in an R1? Because presumably setting a precedent of this type would bring other people to say that would be useful for them as well.
I guess you just have to, you all would have to decide if it adheres to those various conditions that you mentioned. Harm to the public or the neighborhood, it was going to have a deterrent effect or to the neighborhood. I mean, there's no neighborhood here, just land, trees, squirrels. So there's nobody commercial, there's a motorcycle dealership at the bottom of the hill, I mean, there's nobody that's going to be affected by the fact that there's somebody living up above the garage, essentially. I understand the nature of precedents, of course, but, if you have a home in the city of Athens in a real tight little space, and you want to throw someone above the garage, I mean, that's going to be right next door to your neighbor. I mean, you're going to that might presumably have an effect, just population density being what it is. But here, there's 30 acres of property, more than that can support a small community.
We may see it as more of a zone issue than number of dwellings, number of squirrels. It's the zone designation that's going to determine your fate.
The fate of the home. Okay, I mean, most certainly. I guess that's why we're here, to understand what the zoning is and to apply for a variance, based upon the fact that there's, in my opinion, there's no conditions that are being hurt, from have a variance here.
Well, I'm going to reiterate what Ms. Carson was talking about. Even though they're not people around you immediately who might say, oh, we are going to do the same thing, it goes on the record as somebody who's been granted privileges that other people don't have. And consequently, it affects the overall cumulative effect of the code, I think. So that's sort of what we need to talk about.
But don't people come in here regularly to apply for variances?
Of course they do.
So that's the whole point. You, on a case-by-case basis,
Yes,
based
we
on
do.
the specific property in mind,
Right.
you decide whether or not it has that effect.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, not every property is the same, clearly.
That's absolutely true.
And the zoning is, there's some things about the zoning that, I mean, again, I'm not an expert and I don't begin to know the history of the zoning, but there's things I look at and I quite don't understand how it got that way.
Probably lots of complicated reasons.
I'm sure, and a long history as well.
Yeah,
So,
long history.
not there's anything wrong with it, but, it is how it is. But
Right.
nonetheless, I mean, that's the whole nature of variance and what have you, I suppose, I guess.
Anything else?
No, I don't have anything more to say, I'm sorry.
Well, ordinarily, if there were other people who wanted to speak,
Yeah.
then you could come back and rebut them and say, but that's not what I meant, or that's not the case, or you didn't consider, but there's not anybody else here. So you need to say all you want to say right now, unless people have further questions or comments. Otherwise, we will just close the floor and deliberate.
Okay. Do you deliberate and then give me an answer now, or do you talk about it?
Yes, you'll get an answer tonight.
Okay.
Yes.
Do I just sit over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you,
I'm gonna do that.
unless you want to sit farther or closer
We
away.
can text
Stay with us. Don't go. Okay. Okay. Questions or comments you want to make before we go through the findings?
Well, previously, I mean, I almost want to make a motion that we table this, and this is a perfect case example of sending it back to the planning commission to say rezone this property.
Well, I think that might be premature, because if we gave it a variance, they wouldn't need to do that. And if we don't go to the give them the variance, then they could go to the planning commission and say, hey, we want to go back to B3 because this doesn't work for us.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think it's valid enough for us to consider.
Well, it would, in a sense, not force their hand, but it would say to us that, I don't even want to consider this.
I don't see any
R1.
reason not to consider. It's now in an R1 zone.
Right.
So
Yeah.
the question is, should this property be allowed to have more than ordinary numbers of units, or more than ordinary numbers of structures, and possibly more than ordinary people for an R1 zone? And again, I don't think if we voted no, that would prevent them from prevailing on the planning commission or the people who do annexations to say, well, gosh, we all agreed 6 years ago, but, things have changed.
Well, I would have liked to have seen them take that step first. I
Well-
guess that's what I'm saying, as opposed to,
Well, it seems like they were all in agreement. I mean, someone was building a
They
house, they were
were.
going to live in it. They had all this nice wooded green area to
Right.
surround them. The mother was living down here within close proximity. In order to do this, they needed to get city services, so they found out. And think about building the structure of this house. A lot of this wasn't going to get put together until they had some services to hook up to.
Right.
So we had a completed job of a structure for a residency, city services coming in, and annexation and zoning, and everybody agreed at the time. It seemed like a wise idea. And if you look at the surrounding area, the B3s are all along the commercial zone along Columbus Road. The residential areas are all behind. It would be the same thing as on, it's kind of the slip of the tongue, this East State Street that's in this planning commission minutes.
Told
It is,
I think
kick
they
that into gear.
They just came up at the same time.
Because there, we have East State Street with this commercial area and then residential behind. And the discussion, something came out that there could be more development there. And I'm sure that was a conversation that went on about East State Street a long time ago. So if we're thinking about that area as an R1 and the open space abuts R1s to the, whatever that is, east and
East, I
south,
think.
and then it's no longer city property to the west, and then commercial all along Columbus Road, that would seem like a logical way to proceed with a residential area, residential commercial area in an urban area. I mean, that's what comments. I think we're in our rights to look this over and think about it.
well, no, we are. I said it's a thought. I'm not going to make the motion, but it ran across my mind.
Okay. Well, since
Let us
I...
proceed.
Okay. I haven't officially closed the floor, so if you would like to say anything else to us, having heard this,
Okay.
you're welcome to do that.
What if,
right now?
I guess that means no. Yes, right now.
No, I'm listening to you.
Okay. All right.
what if they decided to maybe split the lot and sell part of it to another person because it's a lot of acreage? And
I
then
think
there would
lot
be another
splits,
house.
well, lot splits are something that take place in the witchy office. We don't have anything to do with lot splits,
No,
but,
it's set up through the zoning office.
okay,
and then
but
reviewed.
this board would have nothing to do with a lot split.
No,
would
no,
it?
I'm saying that,
Sure.
right now this is one house, so maybe 2 units and 3 units and the 29 acres or so.
Right.
But it may not be tomorrow. They may sell part of it. And
Well,
then,
I agree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Things
Yeah.
do not remain the same.
Family-owned property, this is never going to sell.
once again,
yeah.
properties,
No, I
Mr.,
understand.
even Mr. Funk is not going to live forever.
No, I know, but this is a family property, they'll be in his family for forever.
Okay.
I mean, that's pretty much the commitment.
Okay.
We don't sell property. You can look through any
Well,
record that.
once again, life is long for some
Well, understood.
instances.
I'm just saying, you
It's
said
not in the
tomorrow.
plan. It's
You
not
said
in the current
tomorrow,
plan.
And there's no plans to sell the property.
Okay, all right. So now I really will close the floor. So, okay. Anything else you all want to talk about before the findings? Okay. So the findings I'm going to go through are exactly...
Make a motion first.
Yes, I'm going to, thank you for reminding me again. The findings are going to be exactly what I read originally, and that you have seen when you prepared the narrative that you turned in. And yes, we do need a motion. So,
I move that we grant a variance to the appellant requesting a variance from Athens City Code 23.04.01A1 to allow 3 rental units and 2 principal structures on a lot in an R1 zone where 1 rental unit and 1 principal structure are the maximum allowed.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, let's look at the findings. First one is practical difficulty and undue hardship. Because of exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions pertaining to a specific piece of property, a literal enforcement of the regulations will result in practical difficulty or a hardship that is unnecessary to the achievement of public purposes.
I say no. It's based on some of the notes on our sheets here. Hardship cannot be self-created.
Yeah, the hardship seems to be that the owner can't occupy the property currently, but that's not inherent in the property itself.
Correct. Very good.
Okay, anything else about that? Okay, the second thing is exceptional circumstances. There are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applying to the property in question or to the intended use of the property that do not apply generally to other properties or classes or uses in the same zone.
Well, I mean, it makes it sound like their lack of knowledge of what an R1 can have was very confusing or not understandable, but...
Well, I think there's another note to us that lack of information about
is also
codes
not a valid
is
reason
not a
to
valid reason.
say yes.
Okay, any other exceptional circumstances or conditions about the property? We do know that the other R1 properties are at some distance from this house, but I don't know why that should make a big difference. Okay, number 3 is preservation of equal property rights. Literal enforcement of the regulations would deprive the appellant of rights commonly enjoyed by others in the same zone. While a granting of the requested variance will not confer on the appellant any special privilege that is denied to other properties in the same zone and the same vicinity.
Well, obviously, it would be granting privileges.
Yes.
I agree.
Not only do we have 2 principal structures, we have 3 rental units in an R1, and I think if we would grant this variance, we would be giving special privilege to this particular piece of property in an R1 zone.
Any quarrels with that?
No, I agree.
The next one is minimum variance. The variance granted is the minimum variance required to make possible the reasonable use of the property.
Well, actually, in the appellant's statement, under that very consideration, they say no, it can still be reasonable as an R1. So even the appellant is agreeing that it's reasonable as an R1.
Right, and an R1 that is complying with the
Exactly.
conditions for R1. Okay. Absence of detriment. The authorizing of such variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property and will not materially impair the purpose of the zoning code or the public interest.
Probably not.
Yeah, we can give that one.
Well, I think you have to consider whether it will materially impair the purpose of the zoning code.
Yes, that's what I think. In the
Yes,
public
yeah.
interest, I think it would.
Public interest would
yeah.
be aroused, but
Okay. It's not of a general nature. I'll just say that myself. We're not going to go to a body to make a change in R1 regulations. So, are you ready to vote? Shall we start with you, Ms. Clausen?
I vote no.
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 And I also vote no. So, I regret that you all are not getting what you need, and perhaps maybe going back to a different zoning designation would work for you. Okay.
Great.
Do we have any other business, Mr. Eschenbacher?
Just a minute.
Okay. And I have been told that the mayor has selected a new alternate for us.
Yes, Edward Baum has agreed to be alternate. He said he couldn't be here tonight, but he should be at the next meeting.
Okay, we'll be glad to have him. And who has read the minutes so that we can approve them?
I move that we approve the minutes of the September meeting.
Second? Thank you. So the minutes are approved as presented. And we are adjourned.
Yay.